and welcome to the AAKP session on innovations in alternative therapies to dialysis, implantables, and wearables. I'm Melissa Bensouda, an AAKP ambassador and fellow kidney warrior. I was diagnosed with chronic kidney disease at the age of 24 after giving birth to my second daughter. After my third child, I lost all functionality of my kidneys. While on the transplant list, I initially began dialysis treatments in center, but was selected to participate in a nocturnal home hemodialysis program. After 6 weeks of extensive training, I set up a machine in my bedroom and dialyzed on my own every other night for 8 hours while I slept. In April of 2012, I received a donor kidney, which lasted nearly 5 years before rejecting, causing me to resume dialysis. Having experienced home dialysis, I knew that's the treatment I would return to, as it gave me the freedom to live my life the way I wanted, and has allowed me to continue working full-time and raise my 3 children. I am involved with the AAKP because the patient voice matters. As a kidney patient determined to continue advocating for advancements in technology, education, and research to improve outcomes of those affected by kidney disease, I am so honored to introduce our session speakers. These individuals are leading cutting-edge research initiatives that aim to truly shake up the status quo in kidney care and help provide an alternative to the organ shortage crisis. I'd like to start this session by introducing our first group of speakers who will be providing updates on the Kidney Project, a bioengineered artificial implant kidney, and an investment perspective on bringing this innovation from concept to the patients. AAKP has been honored to collaborate closely with the Kidney Project, announcing a joint partnership between the AAKP and this research initiative in 2018 when under the AAKP Center for Patient Research and Education. The AAKP provided valuable patient insights by deploying a comprehensive online survey to obtain qualitative and quantitative data on patient preference, perception, and risk tolerance for new and innovative therapies such as wearable and implantable devices. I'd like to start the session by introducing the Kidney Project leads, represented by Dr. Shuvo Roy, Technical Director of the Kidney Project and Professor in the Departments of Bioengineering and Therapeutic Science and Surgery at the University of California, and a 2-time KidneyX Prize winner and recent recipient of the 2021 KidneyX Artificial Kidney Prize. Dr. William Fissell, Medical Director of the Kidney Project and Associate Professor of Clinical Medicine at the Vanderbilt University Medical Center. And joining them, Ms. Janice Nave, Medical Director, Amgen Ventures, and investing partner of the Kidney Project. Thank you all for joining us. The floor is yours.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. We're looking forward to sharing an update on the Kidney Project. So as you guys all may know, our goal is to develop an implantable bioartificial kidney, a device that will provide many of the benefits of a transplant while overcoming the scarcity of donor organs. In our vision, this device is implanted to provide continuous treatment, freedom of mobility, more physiological treatment, while avoiding the risks of infection associated with dialysis and avoiding the need for immunosuppression drugs that transplants require. The way we are going about doing this is not discovery science. We're actually engineering solution based on taking existing knowledge and putting it together to provide a device that can be used hopefully in the coming decade and not over 2 or 3 decades. I will hand over to my colleague to tell you the difference between our approach and some of the other approaches out there.
Hi, I'm Bill Fissell. I'm the medical director of the Kidney Project, and Dr. Roy is exactly correct. This is this project is an out-of-the-box way of thinking. Not only is it an out-of-the-box way of thinking in our technical approach, it doesn't fit perfectly into the paradigm of discovery science, where a typical science grant aims to learn the mechanisms of health and disease. Our goal is to take the discoveries that others have made and use those discoveries, apply them to alleviate the suffering associated with kidney failure. Dr. Roy did not invent silicon. I did not invent kidney cells. However, between Dr. Roy's membranes and our work on growing kidney cells, we can put these two advances together to develop a treatment for end-stage kidney disease that overcomes the things that make people who rely on dialysis sick. 20 years ago, when I was a nephrology fellow at University of Michigan, I worked with a pioneer in this field named David Humes. David had the same goal, alleviating suffering. David developed a large-scale bioartificial kidney that combined artificial membranes, at that time just conventional dialysis membranes, with living cells harvested from transplant discards and delivered to the patient in an extracorporeal circuit. The cells were seated inside the hollow fibers of a conventional dialyzer, and he copied the architecture of a healthy kidney nephron, using one dialyzer as a filter to mimic the filtration function of the kidney's glomerulus, and using a second dialyzer loaded with kidney cells, healthy, growing, functional kidney cells, to mimic the behavior of a kidney's tubule. Because we didn't know at the time what the molecular basis was for the overwhelming illness and mortality associated with acute kidney injury, but we did know that acute kidney injury was associated with death and dysfunction of a certain kind of cell in the kidney. So David went about replacing that cell with this large-scale bioartificial kidney. And it showed great promise in initial human clinical trials. And our goal as engineers, as physicians, is to shrink that huge system that occupied an entire ICU room that you see on the left down into a device that's small enough that it could be implanted into a person just like a transplant kidney. Our goal is to make a universal donor kidney so that a transplant surgeon, when he or she meets a patient with kidney failure, can just go to the supply room, unpack a bioengineered living hybrid device, and sew it into a patient so that every patient with kidney failure can enjoy the benefits of kidney transplant without sitting waiting for something bad to happen to someone else. Shuvo?
Indeed. So, how are we going to miniaturize the system that you saw in the previous slide? We are going to take the technology used to make semiconductors, the airbags sensors that we have in our cars, the gyroscopes that run planes. We're going to take that technology that uses lithography and etching to make tiny electronic circuits and tiny sensors. But instead of making tiny sensors or electronics, we're going to make filtration membranes that mimic the kidney's own membrane. And what you see here on the slide is a silicon wafer that has been patterned with nanoscale pores that resemble what we have in a healthy kidney. And by using this manufacturing technology that allows bulky electronics from 50 years ago to be made into something that fits in the palm of your hand in a cell phone with much more efficiency, is the same technology that will let us miniaturize that system that was tested out over 20 years ago. Here you see a slide that shows our membrane technology that can be precisely patterned, is highly biocompatible, and can operate and filter with just the body's own blood pressure. So the amount of surface area that you need is significantly less than what is used in a standard dialyzer. And it requires a lot less pressure to generate filtrate. In fact, we can generate that filtrate just by using the body's own blood pressure. So that's a key component of miniaturization. The second aspect of that is going to require cell therapy.
So every patient who's ever been in a dialysis unit knows one thing is common to dialysis, and that's water. Every dialysis unit, you see jugs of water being moved around. Every dialysis unit, you see water being pumped from place to place. That's totally unreasonable if you're trying to make an implantable artificial kidney. Your own kidney doesn't do that. We chose, as my former mentor David used to say, to harness Mother Nature's 60 million years of research and development to be able to copy how a real kidney works. When we use these tubule cells that grow in a lab dish, we're able to harness the biochemical energy of the body to sort out what molecules in blood are toxins and need to be excreted, and what molecules in blood are the healthy building blocks of muscles and cells. And we've learned over 60 years how to grow cells in the laboratory. Our group, we didn't invent cell culture. Cell culture was invented 60 years ago as a means to create the polio vaccine. What we have done is to import those techniques and modify them, tune them, so that kidney cells in our hands are able to grow, multiply, and differentiate and form a layer of cells that processes the filtrate that emerges from the silicon filters that Dr. Roy just showed us, and concentrate waste products down into a tiny volume that a person can urinate and just replace that fluid loss by drinking. All of the infrastructure, the hassle, the bulky dialysis, the pumps, all gone. A healthy kidney doesn't have those things, and neither does our implanted bioartificial kidney. We've invested not only in silicon membrane technology, and not only in cell culture technology, we have moved to be able to implement these two innovations in a device that's small enough to be implanted in a healthy human body, just like a transplanted kidney. And there's been an engineering effort using the same tools that are used, for example, to design jumbo jets, to design the blood pathways in this artificial kidney cartridge, so that patients will not need to take blood thinners like heparin or warfarin. They'll be able to go about their business without the fear of bleeding to death from an accident. Dr. Roy, will you tell us how this was done?
Yes, over the last decade, we've invested in creating components, testing them preclinically, and running through a cycle of increasingly rigorous design efforts and culminating with prototypes. So what you see is a design of a artificial kidney prototype that would mount both the filter units and the cells. And by putting it together, would have a miniaturized version of what would be an implantable bioartificial kidney. So the fundamental components are in place. So what we have done is build on these fundamental components, test them in preclinical animal models, tested them on the benchtop for robustness, evaluate their performance, and then brought them together into a single unit that combines the filter unit, the hemofilter, with the cell therapy unit, the bioreactor, into a functional prototype of the implantable bioartificial kidney. For the first time ever, we've been able to show that these two units can work in tandem and generate urine. Never has this been done before, since we've always worked with the individual components in the past. And we are very excited now to build on this success and move forward. So, how do we move forward? So, we need to move forward to scale up our device from a miniature version of an implantable bioartificial kidney to a clinically sized version that can provide therapy. For that, we'll need funding and collaborators. We need the funding to scale up the technology, to conduct the preclinical trials in a systematic way that we can submit the data for to the FDA, and then ultimately to conduct the clinical trials. We need collaborators in the semiconductor manufacturing field and cell production. Experts that know how to do manufacturing and production under rigorous conditions that can be ultimately implemented for patient use. Most importantly, what we really need are not just money and collaborators, but these two sources must really be true partners, partners that get us to the next step. And that can be a challenge given the landscape of the funding to date. Bill, maybe you can explain that a little more.
Absolutely. I think that we know that all of the players, all of the stakeholders in the field of kidney care are trying to do the best for every patient. The NIDDK, and maybe even the National Institutes of Health as a whole, have limited funding. They want to make the most out of every dollar. And the philosophy that we've seen from the NIDDK is that they want to devote the available funds to developing knowledge. Knowledge is something that can be shared freely. If I learn a fact and then I tell you a fact, I don't have fewer facts when I'm done. The development of insight and understanding about how the kidney works in health and how the kidney fails in disease is absolutely critical to preventing the need for dialysis. However, we've seen over 2 decades that patients continue to develop renal failure despite new insights into the development of classic diseases in nephrology. Even over these past 2 years, we've seen that patients with a completely new virus, COVID-19, develop kidney insufficiency and kidney failure at very high rates. There is always going to be patients who develop kidney failure. And Dr. Roy and I are committed to making sure that patients who do develop kidney failure from whatever cause have a chance at life. So we are out of the box. We're out of the box in our thinking of applying silicon nanotechnology from the microelectronics industry to blood filtration. We're out of the box in understanding that we can create conditions for cell culture that will let living human cells develop healthy function in a lab dish. And we're also out of the box in directing our attention to practical solutions that will alleviate the suffering of dialysis today. There's patients who are developing kidney failure today who know that they will never have the option of a kidney transplant. We want to do better for all of these patients. Yes, discovery science, basic research, mechanisms of illness is certain to pay off someday. But in the meantime, I want to take care of the patients that I see in the office, in the dialysis unit, and in the intensive care unit. Shuvo?
Thank you, Bill, for explaining that. What you see on this slide is an array of the funding sources that have helped us to get to this point, including the National Institutes of Health, as well as a number of other federal agencies. What you'll note is we also have a listing of private foundations, and what I don't have listed is the thousands of names that have made small donation contributions, but collectively have helped us get to the point you've seen in our presentation today. Going forward, we will need additional funds and we'll need collaborators. So on behalf of Dr. Fissell and myself, we welcome the AAKP community to join us as we continue that journey. I am pleased to share with you one of our supporters, a supporter that has guided us today and who hopefully will continue to guide us going forward, and that's Dr. Janice Nave. Welcome.
Thank you, Shuvo. Thank you, Bill. Through our corporate venture capital arm, Amgen invests in early-stage transformational companies that play a critical role in sustaining a vibrant R&D ecosystem. Supporting entrepreneurs to create cutting-edge innovation aligns with Amgen's mission to transform the promise of science and technology into therapies that can change patients' lives. Given Amgen's long-standing commitment to nephrology patients, the artificial kidney could be a true disruptor for patients suffering from kidney disease. Our approach to kidney disease is unsustainable. The human toll is huge. It is the 9th largest cause of death in the United States, but mortality statistics don't begin to get at the impact of the disease. We are long overdue for a new approach to kidney disease, not just looking for marginal improvements for an already rickety, expensive paradigm, but rather reinvent how we approach the disease. The holy grail of this new approach, an artificial kidney, could revolutionize how we treat patients needing kidney care. That is why Amgen Ventures invested in Silicon Kidney, and it's a national effort to develop an implantable bioartificial kidney that would eliminate the need for dialysis, treat kidney failure, and offer an alternative to kidney transplant. We believe the artificial kidney, while a high-risk investment given the uncertainty in human clinical trials, would be a true disruptor in the nephrology space. It would not only transform the lives of patients who are currently on dialysis, but could also reduce healthcare costs and provide relief to the health systems. It is important to not stop here, but to continue to invest and accelerate innovation in prevention, diagnosis, and treatment, so we can improve the lives of the 850 million people worldwide currently impacted by kidney disease. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Roy, Dr. Fissell, and Ms. Nave for an excellent and inspiring presentation about what therapies are on the horizon for kidney patients.